Welcome, guys, as Sam shakes up his tea over there to episode 11 of the Weekly. And this week, it's mostly about the Galaxy S8 and S8 Plus. We were all there live at the event. And with me this week, of course, our usual host of characters, Mr. Juan Bagnero from Pocket Now and Some Gadget Guy. How's it going, man?
It's going pretty well, although apparently my audio sucks still. So
no,
thanks,
it is.
now it's good?
Yeah, it's perfect.
Now it's good? Okay, I'm not going to move.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
All right.
And
all right.
Leave your head right there.
All
right.
Oh, I think I heard Super Sav.
Hey, okay. All right. I'm on the S7 Edge. That seems to be the only way that it works.
Yes.
So for anyone who was complaining about how my audio has issues, man, you know, like if Super Sav can't even make Hangouts work, you know that Hangouts has become a raging dumpster fire of ineptitude. So I'm glad we got you back in, man. I'm glad we got you back in.
Yeah.
Thank you. Glad to be back.
We have Safia. How's it going, man?
Good, man. Good. How's it going?
Good. I thought your audio just died there for a second again.
No, we're gonna have some lag. It's cool, but that's also like, you know, just for people knowing, we're gonna have some issues just in the communication back and forth.
And of course, Mr. Warren Bowman from BW1.com. How's it going, Warren?
His audio is done. What?
Are you gotta be kidding me?
No,
I put mine on mute.
God,
No. Here, nope. Let's do this.
I could feel E already starting to go up on a Hangout strand. Like, oh, this is about
I was
to
about to
happen.
just change the topic.
He was about to burn the city down.
And of course, Sam, how's it going, man?
Hi, everyone.
All right, let's get to the first topic. We don't have any uselessness this week, but this whole week was all about the Galaxy S8 and the S8 Plus. We're all at the launch events that Samsung had in New York City, and I'm going to go around asking each and every one the thoughts on the devices, what you liked, what you didn't like, and do you think Samsung at least showcased enough to wash away that Note 7 bad taste? So I'll start off with you, Sam. I know you left a little bit early-ish, but what did you think about the S8 and S8 Plus?
I think everyone already knows I like this phone. This phone is beautiful. The hardware itself is actually really amazing. And the fact that not only is the exterior, updated, they also updated a few things on the interior just in order to get the exterior to look the way it does. I think what really took me, what really surprised me on the phone was that the S8, I think it's 5.8 or 5.5 inches, right?
No, 5.8.
No, yeah, 5.8. But it is actually smaller than the S7. It's a bigger screen.
Not to interrupt, Sam, and we do need to start like changing how we talk about screen size, because the 5.7 inch at that aspect ratio,
it's all diagonal.
That's
what we're saying. We're saying diagonal anyway.
If the diagonal is the same, but the aspect ratio is different, it's a different surface area than a 5.7.
Come on, Juan. Why are you trying to confuse people, man?
I'm not. I'm trying. This is just it. It's like we don't have a good way to describe this. If you compare a 5.7 inch screen on like a V20, it's a different amount of surface area than the 5.8 inch screen on the Galaxy S8.
Very true. The aspect ratio is definitely different, and we ran into that when we were trying to get a lot of images on there in the first place. We noticed that. But what's really amazing is the fact that just from the design's perspective, not from a specs perspective, but from a design perspective, what they've done here is actually put a quote-unquote bigger screen on a smaller device, which I think is something that Apple could actually learn from when you look at when you look at what they did for the last iPhone, which is they made the phone bigger. Exactly. They basically turned the phone into a brick. So design-wise, I think Samsung is actually doing something that Apple wishes it could do. It's effectively out-Appled Apple on design right now.
Okay. Saf, how about you?
Yeah, I think it's been quite obvious what I've thought about the S8 and S8 Plus. They look beautiful. I mean, we are getting. I know about the aspect ratio, but the way I saw the LG G6. I thought beautiful phone, minimal bezels, and then you see the S8 and S8 Plus, and it's just like, all right, goodbye G6. Let's have a look at this because it looks beautiful. It looks beautiful because of the way they're curved around the edges, like because it's symmetrical. It actually feels really good in the hand. Like with the edge, I love the edge. I'm still using this for this stream as well. But the edges were just a little bit sharp. But with the S8 and S8 Plus, it's just smooth all around. I think they've done really well with it. Overall, very impressed.
All right. How about you, Warren?
Warren, did you mute yourself again?
Yeah, and I did. I'm typing here and responding to the people into the chat. You know, they're kind of a part of the podcast too.
Oh, that's so nice of you, Warren.
And I had to pass on the band hammer, so you know how that goes. But yeah, these are really beautiful devices that Samsung has created here with the S8 and the S8 Plus. I think they got influenced by another device, but they definitely have stepped their game up here, and if I think they've done the most they can in trying to erase all the bad karma they sort of got from the Note 7, which for a company that still sold a metric fuck ton of S7 and S7 Pluses any damn ways, even during that whole Note 7 phase, fiasco, it's kind of, I think it's kind of a overstated how bad it went for them from a PR perspective. I think it did go bad, but it would destroy another company. For them, they just kept selling stuff, and they're still selling stuff, and they're about to sell a whole bunch of these S8 and S8 Pluses, and probably get some Note people on those Plus devices that kind of wanted that Note 7, and now they got something that kind of will somewhat help, maybe replace that for them if they're not that big S Pen user. But overall, great devices.
All right, Mr. Aspect Ratio.
You're gonna leave me off like that?
Just
like that?
I'm back now. Come on.
I mean, it's you know what? I'm gonna be the lone voice of dissent, where I'm having the same kind of flashbacks that I had with the S7 Edge and the Note 7, where this is astounding industrial design. I want to put this phone on a museum pedestal under soft lighting in a glass case and admire it. Even holding the phone to do our hands-on videos, though, I'm super concerned about like when I'm gonna have to do my camera review on this, and I'm gonna be rolling around in the dirt and holding the phone over freeway overpasses and going through the creepy tunnels and stuff like that to get all of the photos that we need, because I know I'm gonna drop this thing. I know.
Just get a wrist strap, man.
I'll send you a case.
If it had a lanyard strap for it, I would feel better about it. If it had anything that sort of addressed those issues there, where the G6 was a joy to run through all that because it's kind of a chunky butt, like that was fine. I'm extremely impressed with what Samsung's been able to cram into like, having a Taptic engine style home button. I thought that was really super smart. Being able to cram an iris scanner and a face scanner up into the top of the phone, that's unbelievably cool. Like they're maximizing space to really showcase the screen is phenomenally well done. But some of those ergonomic issues are going to concern me. The fingerprint sensor on the side of the phone, it's an awkward reach for a skinny phone on the S8, let alone on the S8 Plus. Some of those things really are going to bother me. And I'm getting just a little tired of Samsung phones, which sort of require you to use a case if you're rough on your gadgets. I miss the sort of grippy texture days of Samsung, like Note 4 days. And this phone just sort of brings me back to some of that. On the whole, overwhelmingly positive. Some minor concerns with the ergonomics.
I would say that you need some handhold training courses. I can get that for you, just in case.
Genetics worked out for me to have bigger hands. I can palm a basketball, then that would be fine. But
there are some skins.
I don't understand. You're not orange, but yet your hands are small. How does?
Oh, come on! Do not bring that in here.
I can send you some skins if you want.
I'm not even mad.
Sap says we'll send you some skins so that you got some texture.
It'll give you the grip, man. That's the best compromise for me.
Yeah. But I'm holding the S8 though. I didn't find it as I didn't find it as difficult as holding the S8 Plus. The S8 was actually pretty good with reaching over to the fingerprint scanner. That actually, it made sense why they made it a little thinner. But the S8 Plus, man, I showed you, you had to actually adjust the phone in your hand to reach the scanner. So I can see
the size. Get bigger hands.
But dude, I can palm a basketball. How much bigger can my hands be?
From all the promos, you kind of see people holding it like this. So it's supposed to kind of be a two-handed phone. So you kind of have it in here, and then you kind of use your other hand to press the for the fingerprint scanner. So I think because it's so long, I think that's what they're sort of aiming for.
I mean, Saf, even outside of the Samsung people who were at the event, that was maybe the smartest explanation I've ever heard of the usage. But one of my issues of late has been, because we're in this sort of screen size war. We're trying to cram larger screens into smaller devices and bigger phones. And I had to spend all of the end of 2016 with a V20 and a Mate 9 at the same time. I feel that there are precious few phones that actually give you a good reason to occupy both hands. I think the Note is maybe one of the only phones that has a good reason for that. You hold the phone in one hand, you have the S Pen with the other, and you have a really wonderful usage experience for occupying both hands. If I'm running through an airport and I need to check a gate information, or if I'm trying to hit the subway, and I'm trying to make it through a turnstile, and I'm trying to look up something before I lose my data connection, needing to use both hands to operate a device becomes a non-starter. That's where something like, the smaller S8 even becomes a bit of a reach for someone with my stature. And that's a tough call.
Although this whole rest of this world is made for you, man. I have no pity party for you, and you can't do something. Seriously. This whole damn world is made for you, small guys. I have no pity party at all for y'all.
And
it's like across the giants. There are more of me than there are of you. So
I'd like to have a few things that are catered to me. A bigger phone, get bigger hands. I don't know what to tell you. Get a little extra case and get a little extra grip ahead of time. But I have to point this out about the phone. All of you played with the Honor Magic, and it's extremely simple. Like I think they got some design ideas, and it makes me interested. You think Samsung's kind of worried about Huawei's come up?
I think they should be.
Because it's very interesting that this. I mean, the phone. They're not exactly alike, obviously, but when you look at the two of them, you can see that there's some design inspiration there between them. And I'm wondering if Huawei ever releases this in the U.S. at some point. Would I don't know if they'll release that one, or then maybe they might come up with another device. But it's making me wonder if Samsung's kind of worried not so much about. I don't think they worry so much about LG. I don't think they worry so much about HTC or anyone else, and them and Apple kind of share space now.
I mean, I think
Huawei, they're a little.
I think they're concerned.
Number 3 in Samsung should be on the lookout.
Yeah, of course, they're definitely concerned until Huawei gets his act together in the U.S. in terms of really pushing. Right now, it's all about online type promos and things like that with the Huawei devices. So that's something I think Samsung is probably paying attention at some level on there. But
design-wise, Warren, I wouldn't even say that the Honor, like the Samsung S8, is basically taking a page from the Honor. It's really taking a page from the Note 7 of last year, because that's where that design logic and that design language is coming from. The Honor is actually taken after Samsung in that sense.
No, I see Warren's point, because we're also talking about, what was it, is it the Xiaomi that also featured those Palm Pre-inspired rounded corners and stuff? I mean, kind of going back to the well in terms of what's going to make a design feel fresh again. Like, this isn't new territory. We've been trying to make rounded rectangle screens on phones for a while.
But when you look at the design of the home button, you look at the rounded corners, the way the S7 looked, you can definitely see a lot of that design language in the Honor. And you can also see a lot of that design language in the S8s. So like Samsung has always done this, and I think I did a video that was close to 20 minutes before talking about this, of how Samsung has always built on what they've done before, beginning from like the Galaxy S2 all the way up till now. It's always been a progressive implementation of that design language. And I think this finally is like, I thought the the Note 7 was the mature version of that design language, but this looks a lot more like the maturity of that design language over the course of these years.
All right, another question for you guys. So I don't know if you guys have seen the videos of people fooling the facial recognition camera on the Galaxy S8. Granted, when I used it at the events, actually Ricky set it up and used it. It's really fast.
It is really fast.
It is really fast, but now that it can be fooled, apparently, I mean, I haven't tested it out myself. What do you think that goes for what Samsung was trying to do? Because a lot of the stuff I heard from reps when I was talking to them, handling the device was like, well, if you can't use the fingerprint sensor, you can the iris scanner, there's the facial, they were trying to say there's options for you. Now that one of the options looks to be, bricked or just not trustworthy, what do you guys think of how that will play with the S8 down the line?
Is this facial recognition or the iris scanner thing?
The facial recognition.
No,
the iris scanner.
Facial.
Well, the facial recognition thing has been fooled since when they put it back in like Android 5 or whatever the heck it was when they started using that. They had that, it got fooled, and Google downplayed the hell out of it after a while. So I'm not surprised if it gets fooled again. And in the end, and in most cases, I'm like, why would you set that up over an iris scanner? Like, it just...
I think it's speed. It's just speed because it's so much quicker than having to line up your eyes. You just kind of hold it to your face and boom, you're unlocked. Now, I've not seen those videos yet. From what the Samsung reps were saying is that it actually uses the sensors rather than just the camera to scan your face. I don't know what the technicalities are. I'm going to wait till I've got like the latest retail version with the latest software. I don't know which... Do you guys have your S8s yet?
No, not yet.
No, I have a loaner, but I would try it out and see how it works out myself.
Because I'm assuming that there's still going to be the final software which comes out when the retail version on 21st of April, whenever it comes out. But I'll definitely be checking it out and testing it out. From what they were saying, it shouldn't. That's one thing that they mentioned straight away is that a photo shouldn't unlock it. And if that's happening right now, then that's a little bit worrying.
Yeah, because the video has it was at the event. The guy took a photo of himself on his like S7, and then he had the S8, set up with the lock, and he just put it above, and that was it. So it looks like it's possible, but I mean, it could be something that could be fixed.
So really, because I'm with Warren, it's not so much that we should feel like this is some sort of misstep on Samsung's part. Really, what I would hope when we get the final software is just maybe Samsung could do a better job of ranking the security measures, because there's totally an argument to be made for someone who's maybe not as concerned about their data being stolen off their phone, or maybe they just don't feel like they've got anything that valuable, and they're looking at something for convenience. And so as long as that were being disclosed, like your iris scanner is a much more secure version of a face unlock. Your face unlock is somewhat secure. It's about as secure as like a pattern unlock. And then if you really want to get into more robust, security measures, you can look at alphanumeric passwords of a certain length. And really, I think that would be the only thing that Samsung would need to do. Is just that little bit of extra disclosure, and I think everyone would be happy. I don't think it would be a big deal.
I had that in the briefing. They kind of said that the levels is like, okay, face unlock is just kind of general unlocking. Then you've got your fingerprint scanner, and then obviously the highest is the iris scanner, which is like super secure. And then you can do your other folders and stuff as well. So if you have a secret folder which you don't want anybody to see, then you can do that. So then they did explain that to me in the briefing. I'm not sure if they've done that anywhere else.
I mean, you're right. And I think even to Juan's point that if they do that in some of their messaging, I think it will make a lot of sense to just tell people their levels of, kind of tie it in with Knox and say this is the levels of security you get with the S8.
I mean, you would just color code it. And what would be great is if they would also do something like, because I think, having done a little government work, there would be an argument for something like an on-device two-factor biometric security.
Yeah. Like
you have to unlock with both a fingerprint and an iris scan. So one identifies you and the other confirms you. And something like that, it could be like your red level security, right? And then Samsung could just go down from there to say, however much security you think you need, you can now have. And you can just get down to something that's just complete convenience. And that's green. That's like your device is practically open, but we'll try to stop them a little bit.
I like that.
But for the people who it matters to, you're going to have their own IT departments putting in, procedures or putting in these levels of security, and Samsung wouldn't have to do anything. Knox already supports IT departments going in there and designing the security apparatus for these devices. So I don't think it really is an issue. So for a regular user, I would say maybe do not use facial recognition to protect all your pertinent information,
especially those secret folders.
Especially those secret folders. If you're working for
dudes, let's just call it what it is.
If you're working for a corporation or the government, chances are, if it's a company handset, chances are the security has already been customized for those particular purposes.
Quick one here. I don't know if anyone knows, just throwing it out. Ronald Collins says Microsoft Hello can tell the difference between twins.
Wow.
I don't know.
Okay, that's nice. Let's get Microsoft Hello on a device that anybody's bothering to use.
Exactly. Thank you. I was about to say
no. My Logitech camera supports Microsoft Hello. Okay.
When did Microsoft Hello come out, my friend?
Look, it recognizes a black guy. Okay?
When did Microsoft Hello come out?
That is enough.
When did Microsoft Hello come out?
It is happy it recognizes you.
I don't know.
One device.
No one else has a problem. It's a you problem.
I mean,
if we're gonna call out some racist tech though, because I know you, Thunder, you've gone through a bunch of racist webcams that haven't been able to expose for your gorgeous skin properly. We did actually. If you check out some of our videos, we had Jules on site to also produce some videos with us, and he did have some issues with the iris scanner because he's of that Asian persuasion. So Samsung, the Korean company, maybe they could look at the home team.
You would think that wouldn't happen with the home team
adaptations.
All right, another one. Saf, did you get to play around with Dex?
Briefly, yes. It was only a few minutes. It seemed really fast. That was my impression. Like you literally just pop the S8 in and boom, you're ready to go. There wasn't any lag. And it did seem pretty smooth. I need to spend some more time with it. It was only a few minutes that I spent with it.
Do you think it's something that would take off business-wise or just in general? I mean, the price is, I think, $150 for it. So do you think there's a market for that at all, or? Potentially,
I think if you can start using more virtual machines, so where you can, because with the Android operating system, it's optimized, it's cool. But I think if you really want to get to do some serious stuff, then you're going to have some sort of virtual machine. I have not tested that and how well that works, but I think that's a potential use case.
Sam, what do you think?
It's really going to succeed or fail based on the implementation by all these companies, because this is definitely a professional feature, right? You want to plug in wherever you are, you want to be able to work. Now, a lot of these solutions are Windows-based. Right. So if you're looking at all the what people will call these virtual desktops that you can log in anywhere and access your your desktop, your Windows desktop from anywhere, that's great. But what does that mean for Android? Can you access your Windows desktop from Android? And if the answer is no, then this just becomes another feature on your phone that basically just dies because no one's really using it. It's going to basically succeed or fail on these based on how IT departments in America actually, or around the world.
Well, I don't know, Sam. I mean, if we're talking about corporate use, does it really matter if you have Windows, or does it matter if you have Slack and Office and Google Drive?
Well, if you're a blogger, like if you guys are if you're a blogger and you're going out and you're doing it on your own, that's fine. But if you're working on a company server, like on a company desktop, that becomes a little bit more difficult because all the solutions, like Citrix is more of a Windows geared solution. Sorry, go ahead.
I think that they are partnering with a few of these. Was it Citrix? I can't remember who they said, but I think they're partnering with a few. I believe Citrix is one that you can use through Dex. So again, I'm not 100% sure. Didn't spend enough time with it, but they did mention a few different.
I mean, if you definitely get Citrix, then that's a big.
Well, the thing is, if this is an Android-based system, the Samsung Dex, it looks like it'll run other apps and Android apps, and if it runs the Citrix version of Android on it, and you can run it through Dex, that essentially allows you to get into the portal to be able to access your Citrix desktop environment, where then you can remote in from one point to another to go into your Windows PC, or depending if you have Citrix Storefront or just standard Citrix depends on what build that is. But I can already imagine with that though, the experience would not be the best. And I would say that because if you understand how Citrix works, when you actually log in to Citrix, what you see in the front is honestly like almost like a video relay of what's happening on another server. So you're interacting with it. Obviously, it feels like a regular app, but it's almost like this is a bad analogy. It's almost like you're looking at a TV and you're just kind of interacting.
Yeah, you're basically getting screen refreshes ever so often. Yeah.
You're just getting sort of a projection of what's running, something else is running on a server, and when you try to manipulate that through one remote solution to another remote solution to another, you start to degrade the quality of how well that can come through. So if they were to do this with Citrix and try to find some way to do that, the video drivers have to be on point to a point where it's going to be presentable that people can actually work off of it. Most of the time, though, what I think will happen, though, is that decks will get set up in a way that IT companies can make mobile solutions for their applications to work in that environment and not necessarily have to do just a remote session back to a Windows PC. They'll figure out, they'll make some way to make it sort of happen that way.
So guys, like outside of just like the corporate use, though, I think there's just one glaring issue that we continue to face ever since Microsoft started to try and do this with Continuum is, where are these dumb screen, keyboard, mouse, terminals? Where do they exist that as a business person or as a traveling blogger, I can go and plug my phone into them to use them, that I can be relying on that so that I don't have to carry a laptop?
In your hotel room?
Well, the thing is, you will have hotel stations that do just have hookups, just basic stuff. It's not a lot of times you have machines already there, but you can run into a few that just have a laptop-centric station just sitting there.
And if I'm in a hotel, I'd rather just work in my room.
You got a big 42-inch screen.
You got a 42-inch screen there. HDMI to it. And
bring a foldable keyboard and mouse. I mean, dude,
well, Lon, the way I'm thinking about this is not really if you're in a hotel or if you're, if you're using a business center. More of if you're using like a WeWork area, if you're using like a co-op work area, and you have like rented space but not a designated desk, right? So you can move anywhere within that space and still have your information, your data secure on your device, because your device becomes,
I was maybe one quarter joking. I think this is cool, and I think Samsung's actually going to beat Microsoft to the punch in actually getting this out there, because Microsoft has ceded any advantage that they had. It's still, I just think that we're in that transition where the idea of mobile work is still largely taken up by laptops or convertibles or hybrids or whatever.
The number of nomads are growing now. So
this is actually going to be another tool that helps that transition, but I think we're still at the beginning of that spectrum.
Okay.
But whether or not this really blows up, I think this will just be another push towards making us a bit more fluid with where our data and apps and services go.
I think this is sort of pushed and geared towards. The funny thing is that they're setting this up. They're trying to make it. It seems like everyone will use it. This is actually geared towards that CEO or something else that doesn't do anything but shoot email and hit like 2 PowerPoint presentations. That's exactly the market they're going after for this. I'm telling you, that's what they're going after it. But what I want to mention here is the fact that they made this makes it really interesting. That if they made this, what's actually the future of Android as a core? Because I have a feeling like, when you look at that thing, it looks very similar to Chrome. Mm-hmm. And it makes me wonder, if they work with this with Google, what is the next version of Android going to have, or the next Pixel going to have? Or is this how they're going to merge Chrome and Android together? And with this sort of desktop environment when you plug into a dock.
Interesting. Well, we have a question I want you guys to answer, though, which is always on our minds when we talk about Samsung devices. This is from tigerbait.com. Experts, can you guarantee that if I finally move from my Droid Turbo to the S8, that a year from now, that phone wouldn't be bogged down and slowing like all previous Samsung devices after a couple of
Why do we have to guarantee that? Why don't you write a letter to Samsung, man?
Just call this out, like
this is gonna be messed up. I'm gonna kind of say it a little bit here. If you get an Exynos one, you might be okay. That's all I'm gonna say with that. Get a Exynos One.
I
You
mean,
get the international version then.
yeah, but I mean, also Samsung is having the Qualcomm chipsets, so
No, it's not the chipset. It's not the chipset. And whether it's a Qualcomm 835 or it's an Exynos 9 series, it all comes down to software and support. And this is one thing that I think Huawei is actually onto something. The way that the Mate 9 has handled garbage collection and resource management, because I've been running that Mate 9 hard, and it is still phenomenally snappy. It's not as snappy as they showed. They're like, hey, look, you can fill up your photo gallery and it's just going to scroll super smooth, because I've got a ton of 4K video in there, and that stops scrolling super smooth, but the rest of the phone is on point. It's been bulletproof. And so I think Samsung's biggest challenge for the S8 is getting ahead of the next Android OS update.
Yeah.
When Android O drops and it features much better support for resource management, especially background app, killing parts of background apps like pinging your radio or your GPS, that will be a huge shot in the arm, because Samsung has so many custom services that need to run on a Galaxy phone that any help they can get from Google directly in keeping Android running smooth is what's going to make the difference.
Saf, what do you think? Do you think the natural interface, that's what it's called now, right? It's not TouchWiz anymore. Do you think, do you think it's going to hold up like tigerbait.com is hoping?
It's hard to say. It's hard to say. Like my S7 Edge, I've got the Exynos version. It has slowed down since my update to Android 7. But I haven't done a factory reset, so I think that might give it. I just didn't have time. But yeah, I mean, I see where they're coming from. We obviously can't guarantee anything. Hopefully, Samsung will work with Android to kind of keep things smooth. It's difficult to say, to be honest.
I think there's just a lot of factors with that. It's got to do with software management. There is a bit of the hardware and chipset issue that can kind of come with it as too. It's hard to pinpoint down who or what might be causing it, because it could be a combination of different things that for the reason that it does, for reason that it'll slow down. I think the most common thing outside of any chipset is when Android, you upgrade a device from this current version of Android to the newest one that's released that it didn't initially come with. And it seems like once you do that upgrade, it seems like that's when you run into things slowing down, hiccups, lag, and that's either an Exynos or a Snapdragon or a Kirin-based system. It seems like they all kind of run into that same sort of snag with it. So we have to. The Google improves their, like I said, improves their background resources and just garbage collecting and just keeping the system running as well as it possibly can in the background, especially in moments when you're not using it, to keep the phone nice and smooth. So that's what I'd like to see happen kind of in the near future. I am interested with Samsung making the Qualcomm processors just go around, how good it is, how good it would be compared to when Qualcomm does it themselves. That'll be very interesting to be able to kind of compare the quality, the speed, and the longevity between the two of them to see it could be just design wise, or it could be Samsung just produces maybe a better quality chip than Qualcomm can, and maybe Qualcomm will take some of that into their own.
Well, who was Qualcomm using for chip fab before? Because I think the 820 lineup of chipsets was perfectly competitive. You look at what Google got out of the 821 on the Pixel, and it's astounding performance, and I have to believe that that's largely due to the software.
True.
Yep. I don't know, maybe did you guys see, for the new Nokia's, Nokia's kind of like, what was it, that they're going to be bringing updates within a month? Or...
Oh, everyone makes
is that what they said?
Claim. No one lives up to it.
Well, yeah, I mean, if they could do something, if they could actually live up to that sort of a claim, then you'd be getting, because I mean, with my S7 Edge, I got it 6 months. later, which is like way too late.
Nokia's, I mean, and to follow on that point, to Nokia's credit, if they stick with a largely stock implementation of Android and they don't get bogged down in trying to get overly creative with customizing the interface, then I think they'll probably have a much easier time living up to that. I mean, look at in the Android landscape right now, who's on 7.1? How many manufacturers are?
Well, I am on my Nexus 6P. So.
No. I don't mean what people. I mean what manufacturers. What manufacturers are on 7.1?
I think
Google supported phones in the OnePlus, right? That's it.
No, hold on a second.
OnePlus.
The OnePlus is on the 7? Oh, interesting.
Hold on.
And not only 7.1. I mean, LG was the first phone with Nougat. But, you know, the V20 has been languishing on months old software. Like, we haven't gotten any further updates where the V20 really does need a little more software polishing. It's been stuck there. Samsung, I think, is on 7.0. HTC, I think, is on 7.0. So the only company that I think has made the jump to 7.1 has a fairly minimal influence over customizing Android. As a smaller company, and they're a little bit more nimble, and they only have a handful of phones to support, and I think that also helped. But if Nokia follows that same track, then I'll be very positive on that move. I think Google has gotten savvy about making Android prettier, and there's less and less reason to go deep into customizing the look of the phone. Maybe some more reasons on augmenting behind-the-scenes stuff, like what Huawei's doing with garbage collection and resource management. But outside of that, Android O should fix a lot of those problems too. So keep it lean, keep it stock, and I think a lot of people are going to be a lot happier.
All right, last question on S8, and then we kind of have to just burn through because we've spent 40 minutes on this phone. This one has to do with the camera. You know, a lot of people have said, well, it's the same camera from last year, you know, or, you know, yeah, pretty much last year. It's a 12. You know, Samsung said they had made some improvements and changes. And some people also wonder, why not go with a dual camera setup? From what you guys played with, are you happy with what you're seeing with the camera? Do you think it's fine? Or do you think Samsung should have at least made that leap to a dual camera or a 16 megapixel shoot or whatever the case may be?
I'm just going to point out that Apple got away with putting the same camera on the same damn phone for about a good 4 iterations.
You know, we were all calling them out on it.
I mean,
Apple fans, we were calling them out. And the same thing, Samsung fans are going to excuse it, and the rest of us are going to call them out on it.
I think what it is, it's come to a point where how better can cameras get on smartphones? Like, they're literally, I think we're coming to a point where we're kind of reaching the peak. So the only thing they could have done would be dual cameras. Now, my iPhone 7 Plus here, the secondary camera, I've used it like 3 times. I've literally just used it. The G5, the G6, the wide angle, I used that a lot. But with this, I barely used it. So I think if they had got a wide angle, then that would have been cool. I would have liked that. I think they're saving that for the Note, if they're going to have that, the Note 8. I think they needed something big for the Note, and I think that's why they're saving that. So you've already got this Infinity Edge display, which is beautiful, and everybody loves it. So I think they're kind of like, okay, here's the S8, and then they wanted something to separate, not just the S Pen, but they need to do something big for the Note to kind of make up for the failure of the Note 7. And I think that's where we're going to get the dual cameras. And Exynos have already teased the dual camera, that the Exynos 8895 can support dual cameras. So they've already teased that, and I think that's kind of a hint that we're going to be having dual cameras on the Note 8, and I think that's the reason why they've not included it in the S8.
And to your point, Saf, I think while changing focal length is fun, I think Huawei still has the best idea on dual camera, where both cameras work together to improve photo quality. And I think that could be a huge step for Samsung. If we can't increase sensor size, like get us a Lumia 1020 size camera,
that is what we need. Lumia 1020 powered with this new processors, it'd be golden. I mean, like,
Then I think dual camera is probably the way to go. My only note on this is the Galaxy S7 camera is still one of the most formidable shooters on the market today. We didn't need a resolution bump, which would have degraded low light performance. We didn't need to improve video performance. It's still one of the best video shooters on the market. My biggest gripe is software, is that Samsung has done nothing to utilize the display. So we've got this super amazing, this incredible tall and skinny display, and you fire up the camera, and it's a 4:3 aspect ratio photo with a ton of wasted space on all of the controls on the camera. And then you go into Pro mode, and the Pro mode controls still take up your viewfinder. So instead of using all of this empty black space on the sides of your viewing window, it encroaches on your ability to compose. And I can go and shoot cinema wide video on a G6, and it will more properly fill up that 18:9 screen. Why can't I do that on a Samsung? I'm still stuck in 16:9. You haven't even given me the ability to shoot a photo or a video that can take up the full resolution of the screen.
Like Google went, he's not talking about us right now, so we'll make sure his audio is.
Sorry.
It's like when your ears are, I mean, when like your sinuses are clogged, you're like, oh, it's all open now, I can breathe. So I didn't really have any issues with them sticking with this camera sensor. The dual pixel is still the fastest and most accurate autofocus I've ever used. It saves incredibly high bitrate video. I want options to better utilize what's cool about this phone, and that is the 18.5:9 aspect ratio. And I don't get that. So I can shoot really awesome video on my G6 and then move it over to my Galaxy S8. And boy, that looks really stinking neat. It takes up the full length of the screen, but I can't do that natively on the Samsung.
Yeah. All right, let us move away from the Galaxy S8. It looks like we all at least like the device on many levels. The fingerprint sensor is something that we all are going to complain about at some point when we make our videos. But so that's what you have, guys. That's our thoughts on the S8 and the S8 Plus. It's taking most of the show. If you have like 15 minutes-ish to kind of run through the rest of the tech stuff. All the tech stuff. So this week, the co-founder of Oculus left the company, or leaves Facebook, Palmer Luckey. He has had a lot of bad press in the last couple of months with the election, a few things he said, even with the launch of Oculus. I'll just kind of start it off by saying I think this was bound to happen. I don't think Facebook wanted somebody like this with any kind of extra negativity on the board. So I'll say it was bound to happen. Any thoughts? I'll start off with you, Sam. What do you think?
Well, Facebook, really, this issue truly is a Facebook issue, right? It's not really a Palmer it's not really Palmer's issue. I think, yes, he is a little bit of a polarizing figure now, especially with the elections and also the fact that he just had to shell out $15 million on a lawsuit, which means that he was personally liable. Although, yes, his partner also had to shell out about $150 million. So it makes it seem as though these guys were personally liable. But why I say it's a Facebook issue is Facebook should have done a little bit more homework about the ZeniMax issue if this was really something that could actually affect, their rolling out of Oculus. Facebook should have been a little bit more open when it came to the way it was editing a little bit of their news and conservative viewpoints and whatnot. And it should have also been very open the fact that, his opinions are not the opinions of Facebook. So when you get all these things together, it makes it look as though this gentleman is basically pushing an agenda at Facebook that he really wasn't pushing. You could tell he wasn't pushing any agenda. So him leaving right now kind of has this kind of specter of, is it because of the lawsuit? Is it because of Facebook handling of conservative media? What's going on? So I just think it's a natural, people grow out of positions. He's no longer like the co-creator of a company. He's now an employee for Facebook. So he's just grown out of this employee phase, and he's probably going off to do something new.
Saf, any thoughts?
I have not gone through the show notes. I'm sorry. I'm gonna be.
Don't feel bad. That's the rest of us. Somebody decides to email him at 12 a.m. every week.
Yeah, I'm still jet lagged. That's my excuse. So go to the next one. Go to the next question.
Juan, do you want to jump in?
It's one of the weird things that we're in right now, where this type of image is also a major component of how these businesses do business. And it's something like, as a really bleeding heart liberal, I wish we could take just a small step back from, oh my God, someone did something which might have been objectionable, we need to scream for their head on a pike. Because I think that's kind of a toxic atmosphere to engage in people we might disagree with personal ideas, but they're working at a company to try and bring us stuff that might actually be beneficial. And that's not really what the company is about. But now the company might need to save face and burn that relationship down. I think, unfortunately, to Sam's point, I think Sam's totally on point. There is a lot going on behind the scenes, the relationship between this individual and a mega company, mega organization like Facebook, that we'll never be privy to, that we have no idea the ramifications of how these two parted ways. And so, because we won't ever get the full scoop, and we'll probably only ever get, really delicately worded PR statements about, oh, and he was a beloved member of the team, and we're always going to be grateful for him for selling Oculus to us. It will cause that rampant speculation, but that's a non-story. That doesn't matter. Because we'll never get the answer, it's just pure speculation. And so we're going to burn articles on it. We're going to burn news cycles on it. And we're going to be distracted from actually talking about what the hell is Facebook doing with Oculus right now. Like, that's a real story that we've all just sort of given up on. And it's why I'm worried that VR is becoming the next 3D TV. We want to see progress. We want to see social interactions. We want to see more than just gaming. We want to see VR really move into a consumer household technology, not just a gimmick for the ultra rich. So that, to me, is like kind of the biggest disappointment of all this, is because it's a non-issue what this guy does personally and why he might have chosen to leave this company now that Oculus is properly entwined with Facebook.
You bring up something important and you say, what are they doing with VR and Oculus? And
like I said 2 years ago, nothing.
But Sam, it's actually not that. I'll get to my point. My point is simply this.
Correct him.
Developers are terrible. Because, okay, for the last week and a half, I've been getting emails from Vive. And Vive has been sending me emails about different games coming up on the Vive. And each time I look at each press release, I'm like, I don't want to play any of these. It is not like I'm getting a Mass Effect type game. I'm not getting, even a Call of Duty type game on there. I mean, the thing is that there's nothing that I can literally show to my friends and say, jump into the VR world, and you are convinced. Mm-hmm. That's the problem. Yeah. I mean,
Samsung has done more for VR than Oculus has.
Yeah. Samsung has done more than anyone. So it's not even just a matter of Oculus,
No, because their partner is Oculus. Yeah, Oculus Samsung has done more.
But even that too is still a base level of VR where it's cute, it's nice. You need to really convince. It's something where if I had friends who came to my house and I say, put this on, and they went, God damn, yes, that's what you want. There is no piece of software that can convince anyone. As gamers, we can go, oh, I see the potential. I know where this can go. But there is nothing from any company out there that says this is what a VR experience really is.
And how many companies have died on potential?
Yeah. And I think that's just where it is. And again, with developers not doing anything or pushing those boundaries because, it's just not viable for them. It's going to be a space where, unless, Vive and Oculus themselves, and Vive can do it because it's who is it again?
HTC, baby.
No, it's Steam. Let's just be correct.
And Steam.
It's Steam. Steam can spend time, and like I said, if you dropped a Half-Life 3, it is over.
Oh, that's true.
But they never did. So, let's move on. Let's just move on before we go into the entire.
Before we jump too far out of what Oculus is doing, Samsung, like I was saying, Samsung is doing more with VR, and this is Oculus. They're a partner with Oculus, and if you saw one of the announcements during the S8 launch was that you basically, was the camera, which actually supports the whole VR kind 360 view, and you also look at the new 24. That's also something that Samsung is pushing, where you can actually put on a Samsung VR headset and look in 360 during some parts of the show. So they're trying to push this, but what we're not seeing is that Facebook push. We're not seeing that Facebook Oculus push. This is the person that spent that, $2 billion on the company, and they're not front and center of this. I think that's where the issue is. But they are doing things, but Samsung seems to be the person that's actually pushing things more than Facebook.
Samsung lets sell products, man.
Have you guys tried the new Gear VR with the controller?
No,
I
haven't tried the controller yet.
Yeah, that's pretty. So basically, I think what you mentioned about developers. I think it's just not mainstream enough for developers to spend that much time and money on it. But with the new Gear VR and the controller, so I was playing the shoot 'em up with the Gear VR and the controller. So that kind of felt like not exactly the Vive, but coming towards the Vive. But having that control just kind of changed everything, from changing it from where it was on the headset itself to this controller. Just made it so much more accessible, and I was like, okay, I can see myself using this a lot.
Do you prefer
your point about
that over? Not prefer. I mean, because you only use it for. But how does it compare to, say, Google's? What's Google's?
Daydream.
Huh?
Daydream.
Daydream. I haven't used Daydream too much. I haven't used it too much myself, so I really can't comment too much on that as yet. But my experience with the new Gear VR and the controller was very positive.
Okay. All right. Yeah. One more thing.
Can you see me, by the way? Am I gone?
No, you're
just your image. Yeah.
We can still hear you though, so we'll keep rolling.
Yeah, we can still hear you. That's fine.
Guys, carry on.
I guess going back to the S8 launch, which Warren mentioned, none of us mentioned Bixby. And granted, there was limited experiences with it, but I'll start off with you, Saf. Thoughts on Bixby? Do you think Samsung should have just gone with Google Assistant, or them trying to do the other thing also makes sense?
See, personally, I'm not really too much of a user of any sort of, like, I don't use Siri much on my iPhone. I don't use Google now. It's just as in the voice side of things. So to me, it was like, all right, it's cool, but I definitely have to spend some more time with it. But I've never really been too much of a, I just rather pick up my phone and do things generally when it comes to the voice assistant side of things. The visual assistants seem pretty cool, but I'd have to test that out a little bit more and see how well it actually does, because we were in the demo area and they were like, they kind of had some books and stuff which you kind of point it to and it gives you more information. But I'd like to test it more in the real world, like when I'm out and about, and see how well it does for me there.
Okay, so Saf is saying he's not lazy. He likes to pick up his phone like everyone else and use it. Warren, what do you think about Bixby?
I'm actually interested in it to see how sort of their take is on this whole assistant thing and its ability to sort of be able to. They touted it being able to understand what's on the screen as well too, and have what was the word, contextual awareness. So I like the whole being able to take a picture of something and then it shows up on whatever store service that you have. You can buy it from directly. I think that's pretty cool to have that. Just basically the entire Amazon Fire Phone right there in that one little feature. But it's interesting. I like the little hub that they had with it. It seems like it might be a cleaner version than what Google Now kind of is, but I just wish I had more time to kind of play with it there. But I am intrigued. It seems like it's going to be something that can be competitive against the others out there.
Sam, any thoughts?
No, not really, because we didn't really get a chance to get our hands on Bixby per se, right? All the devices I held, and I asked them about Bixby, there was a placeholder there for Bixby. There's a dedicated button for Bixby, but there was no Bixby. So I really don't have an opinion on it until we get our hands on it and we can actually use Bixby.
Juan, did you try it out?
Well, I mean, like to Saf and Warren's point, actually to Saf, Warren, and Sam's point. Funny how when I come after all three of you and I'm kind of on the same page. So the only thing that I tried to do, because when you hit the Bixby button, it's not connected to anything. In the camera app, there was actually a little bit more functionality where Bixby would start trying to scan things in your environment directly in the camera app. I thought that was kind of interesting. I think there's some potential there, because when you open your camera, Bixby is just ready to go. There's a little Bixby button. It's not like you have to remember, oh, I'll open my Bixby app and then toggle the camera and then I can scan something. we think of camera first. So when my camera's up and I think, oh, well, what's going on here? You can go directly to it. That being said, and to Saf's point, I don't know that I've ever pointed my camera at something and thought, boy, I wish I could Google search that thing that I'm looking at right now in this moment. I wonder what that is. So I do feel like there's this chicken and the egg race here too, where we have to see what developers get on board supporting Samsung's implementation. We also still have no idea what Samsung's implementation for this is, because we haven't really gotten to try it out in any kind of real world situation. And I think there's huge potential for a company to unseat, hold phone, one hand, touch square, get app, occupy my eyes, take up all of this tactile attention and visual attention with better voice controls and more in-depth stuff. It's what I always hoped Motorola would have continued with the X2, having a really smart Motorola assistant add-on to voice search. And I think any company, and Samsung has some great developer talent, I think they have the potential to shake up how we interact with our phones. It's just we're now in that holding pattern of what does this thing really do when we try and put it through our paces. And I think the initial experience is going to be very limited.
Well, one thing to add, I'm not sure if you guys, because one of the things that they were mentioning in the briefing was that one of the other points of having the physical button there is that you can hold it to your ear like you would be having a conversation on the phone. So say you're walking and you don't want to be using both your hands, as you were saying, like you're in the airport and you want to find out some information, say about your flight, then you can just press that button and it's like you're having a conversation, and you can say, Bixby, give me more information about my flight, and it will do that for you while you've got it up against your ear, so you're not looking like, some people are uncomfortable walking around talking to their phone.
That's why I'm saying, like, Samsung has this formidable developer talent in-house. Because what you're describing right there sounds a lot like the movie Her. It's not weird when we're talking. It's weird when we're sort of talking to a phone away from the phone. Like that looks weird. But the idea that, well, I kind of have to occupy one hand, but I don't have to occupy my eyes. I can get more information on this very specific issue that I might be having in that moment, and it just looks like I'm taking a phone call. Something like that is a huge step in the right direction for fixing some of the social and etiquette issues that we have with always staring at glowing rectangles and blocking our face.
Another thing is, in the UK anyway, they've really locked down on phone usage while you're driving. So 6 points on your license, which is almost enough to lose it, as well as a £200 fine. So they've really locked down, and understandably so, because of the amounts of accidents and things that happen with people on their phones while they're driving. And I think with something like Bixby, what they're saying is you can pretty much do anything that you can do with touch, you can do with voice. That's what they're trying to aim for. So I might be using it a little bit more now because of, how much it's locked down. So when I'm driving, then maybe I'll be using Bixby a lot more. So let's see.
Okay. All right, let's just kind of speed through the rest here. Amazon original shows are going to be on Twitch, which, I'm not sure why that's the case. I know Amazon's trying to evolve.
Somebody's got to watch it.
Yeah, true.
I'm stoked for Man in the High Castle, man. I'm on board, and you need a good partner. And I don't think Amazon stands to benefit tremendously from having a tight tie-in with like YouTube. So go to someone who needs content, and you'll get a favorable deal. You've got an audience. I think it's a good play.
Yeah, but doesn't Amazon own Twitch anyway? I think it's another outlet.
Twitch.
Yeah, it's another outlet.
But it's what do we do with Twitch? And do you have content that you can serve to other subscriber bases? Then go for it.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right, moving on from that, since we all agree.
we should just have one word. Good,
bad. No, I don't care. Comcast is also starting.
I don't care.
Wow. Damn. Yeah, that is quick. It's prepaid internet service. So just like Fios offered sometime last year, you can buy prepaid internet services. To me, I just rather say have some nice affordable plans and not prepaid service. To me, just doesn't make sense in my mind.
No, you might as well just use a phone and tether at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Easier to set up.
All right, cool. That one's out the window. And finally, SpaceX.
Good. Very good. Awesome.
Thumbs up.
reused the first Falcon X rocket for another launch, which is actually amazing.
Yeah.
You know, especially in this day and age where NASA hasn't done much in terms of that side of things.
Mind if I just cut in?
Yeah, go ahead.
This is probably the first, when we finally look at space travel in the future, how many ever years we are from there, and we're using spaceships over and over again. This will be the moments that people will look back to say humanity actually took a big leap forward because someone dared to dream. This is really amazing. There's really not much there's nothing bad you can say about
Sam,
pushed. Yeah.
I'm dreaming about the Enterprise. I still don't see it.
No, this is where it starts from. This is where it starts from.
To get to the Enterprise.
No.
People say his idea. People look at Elon Musk and they say his idea of man on Mars is some kind of crazy little thing. But his idea, exactly, it is not crazy to him. His idea of man on Mars basically has pushed him to do something that even, think about it right now, apart from SpaceX, right, which came after this, there was no privately funded space program unless it was from a country. He is doing things that countries have not been able to do. With all the funding and taxpayer money behind countries, he is doing something that countries have not been able to do. This, I think everybody in humanity should just stop right now and just have that little wow moment, because this was really amazing.
I think Sam summed up all our thoughts there.
Yeah, I'm very impressed, and I'm right there with Sam. This is something pretty huge, and unfortunately, we're going to be talking about like Trump's Russia connection more than, hey, maybe we should put a little bit more cash into our NASA program and into the private.
He'll own the NASA program at some point.
Yeah,
some way he'll be like, I am NASA. Elon Musk is going to get on the stage and just say, I am NASA, and we'll all just accept it.
and right now, in this moment, I'm pretty much fine with that. If our government won't take care of it, then maybe someone else should.
Yeah, like right now, to get before SpaceX, if our government wanted to get supplies to the International Space Station, if our government still even now, if we want to get people to the International Space Station, we were relying on Russian jet propulsion. We are relying on the Russian space program to do that, because NASA really hasn't done that. We rent these things from the Russians. Now we have an American company that is doing something and actually making the process of sending materials to space, supplies into space, into the ISS, a lot cheaper. So yes, he is NASA, because he's basically out NASA.
Yeah. Well, actually, let's just be frank. The people who work there all came from.
Oh yeah, he poached all from NASA.
Yeah, he got bad policy in cutting NASA's budgets.
Yeah, but anyway, guys, let us.
He got a lot of people from right out of school. Is what he really did. He got people like before they can even get in front of like a NASA interview. He was like there, grabbing them immediately.
Yeah.
Some people said they're still waiting for the first Virgin Galactic commercial space flight. I do know 2 people are going up to space this year. It's going to cost like 100 G's each. Man, I wish I had that money.
Wow, that is cheaper than a few years ago when it was costing like what, $1 million to go into space.
Yeah. No, I mean, but it's not. I mean, this is still lower orbit stuff though, so you're pretty much taking.
Oh,
yeah. I mean,
that's still pretty cheap.
I mean, so how about this, right? If you all just put your cash together, I can go up for the team. I mean, if that's cool.
Let's factor that. Give me about another 20 years.
We're not sending you. We don't need any. We don't need any interstellar incidents.
What the hell do you mean? Anyway, guys, on that note, we get to the part of the show where, first of all, Warren gives us his last word, and we talk about the things we can expect on everyone's channel next week. So, Warren, what is the last word for the day?
Today's last word.
Yes, it's
great time to be alive with SpaceX going on. It seriously is. That is like where that could really go. We could be. I mean, it could be. Like, I remember reading Elon Musk's book, and he's talking about, I want to retire on Mars, and that might actually happen in our lifetime, where people can go to Mars to retire. and that's just amazing. But I want that Hyperloop though, because I want to be able to get to here in New York in like 30 minutes instead of like 4 hours. I'm pretty sure Saf would like that same Hyperloop too.
Yeah. I could really do with that with the amount of flights that I've had to have. Yeah, that would be pretty cool.
Yeah. Okay. Juan, do you want to start off with what you have on the channel now and what you can expect next week?
Yeah, definitely. So on Pocket Now, we have the same ton of videos that I think everyone else has been pumping out. Galaxy S8, Samsung Unpacked, S8 Plus. We have also a couple of those quick show floor comparisons, which I always think are kind of silly, but people seem to enjoy them. S8 versus S7 and S8 Plus versus iPhone 7 Plus and some stuff like that. So that's all pretty cool. I'm still rendering it and uploading it, but we did the Pocket Now Weekly using the Samsung Gear 360. And I'm done rendering it. It took 8 hours and 20 minutes to render the podcast.
Wow.
And could you just tell people your system specs so they know you're not running some PC?
I'm on an X99 board with 64 gig of RAM and multiple solid state drives. So this was a weighty piece of video to chew through even for me. The only thing that I'm kind of bottlenecked on is I have a GTX 970 still, so that might have shaved 20 minutes.
A crappy card, yeah.
20 minutes off of my render times for my 8-hour and 20-minute render. But I'm also going to put it out there that this is quite possibly the worst way to watch a podcast. It's like you're trying to look around at who's talking. So it's only fitting that I'll be finally uploading it on April Fool's Day, because it's proper awful. But we're going to be doing an actual review of the Samsung Gear 360. I've been playing around with it for a little bit. Some pros, some cons. It's still pre-release and still very beta, so it's a little raw. So we'll have to kind of take that review with a little grain of salt. But we're going to be spending some time playing with this. We've got some security hardware coming up on the Pocket Now channel. We're actually trying to expand into some other gadgets. And then for Gadget Guy, I've got some storage reviews, like some little mini Seagate hard drives to take a look at. And you can get the lowdown right now on probably what's the hottest review of the year, which is the YAM. Because I know how we all are about our starchy card delivery systems, and you definitely want to check that out. We have a guest collaborator come on to do a scratch test and a bend test and a burn test. So,
what about a cut test? Did you do a cut test on
Yeah, he did a cut test.
Okay.
Yeah, so we did a teardown. It wasn't a cut test. It was, we have to tear down and see what's actually inside the YAM. So all of that's live right now. It's only a 17-minute video, so I mean, I think that's a pretty efficient way to go through reviewing something as complicated as.
And I am going on your channel right now.
Okay. And Saf, how about you? What do you have on your channel? What can we expect next week?
I've got another sort of comparison with the S8 coming up, but I'm waiting for my unit to come in. So then there will be lots more stuff coming as soon as I have my S8 unit. Other than that, I have a bunch of emails to catch up on since coming back from New York. So no other video plans as yet.
All right. And Sam, how about you?
No, not really. No videos as well. But I've been playing a lot of games, and Mass Effect is one of them. So who knows? We might do something on Mass Effect. Depend. We have to collab and see exactly what we want to do. But yeah, that might be the only thing that's in the pipeline.
With the facial recognition weirdness or whatever it's supposed to be.
Yeah, the facial animation is so weird. How did they walk it back that bad?
Yeah, no, it's yeah. Let's leave it at that.
On my end, I just like everyone else, I have S8 stuff up on the channel this week. Have a few other videos, my best tech in 100. Next week, some more S8 stuff. Also, we do have our Nintendo Switch giveaway bundle, so there's a link in this video. You guys can go check that out and enter, win the Nintendo Switch. Some more gaming stuff, a few gaming PCs. I'm going to try and do at least one of them next week. I have like 3 gaming PCs I have to go through. And what I think is the best video for today, not that rubbish about yams. Nobody cares about yams. It's all about the red apple. And you can check that out. We talked about how good the red apple will be, and also We took a bite sample of the red apple, so you guys can.
I didn't see any durability testing though, so I'm pretty sure Yam is a more resilient.
When was the last time you saw Apple do a durability test? That doesn't matter. Come on.
I think
only Windows fanboys.
How fast is the processor in the red apple?
It's pretty fast, man. You saw me digest it.
Okay.
Did we want you to digest it? I don't think that's a thing.
That's a messy video right there.
Although I gotta say, it was hilarious that I think the second comment on your Red Apple video was someone who obviously hadn't watched the video saying, Apple's red iPhone is totally played out. Samsung totally stole the limelight. Or something like that, it was like, it was like the perfect like whoosh moment.
I will say the
way over there,
very red. How did you get the apple to be that red? By the way, that was actually very.
We did
color grading.
No,
Samsung filters.
Color grading.
Samsung filters.
We used a few filters, maybe. I will give.
Yeah. So when you're seeing the Yam in my video, that's what the Yam really looks like. I'm not saying
I said
trying to make it more cinematic.
Look. We were shooting at 24 frames per second. Okay, I give all credit to Daniel and his, skills with a camera.
His camera witchery. Yes.
Yes.
He does camera witchery.
Well, anyway, guys, thank you very much all for joining us on the show. Saf, thanks for joining. And
Thank you for having me.
Yes, and if you want to follow Super Saf, you can check out his channel as Super Saf on YouTube and also on Twitter. His username there is Super Saf. Follow him, check out his videos, has some pretty good stuff out there in the UK. He is the biggest guy in the UK. Channel wise, sorry, I said biggest guy.
Honestly, I could stand to drop like 5 pounds. So
definitely check out his content. And again, thanks for joining us this week on the show.
Thank you.
Also, you can follow Mr. Warren Bowman from BW1.com. His channel is BW1.com on YouTube as well as Twitter. That is his Twitter handle. Check out his videos. He also has a pretty interesting video with the Ultimate PC coming out today. So
I got a pretty good PC I want to talk about for you guys later on, so definitely check that out. It should be out tonight sometime.
Yeah, and
it's WrestleMania weekend. Woo!
Yeah, and he's a wrestling fan, just to let you know. And also, you can follow Mr. Juan Bagnell. I was going to say Mr. Some Gadget Guy. Juan Bagnell, he's part of the Pocket Now Network, so you can actually follow him there, or his own personal channel, which is Some Gadget Guy. His Twitter handle is also Some Gadget Guy. And Sam, aka Black Iron _man, that is his Twitter handle. He is part of the Booredatwork Network. And myself, Thunder E, Booredatwork on YouTube and Twitter. I want to say thank you very much, and always enjoy your entertainment.